So there we go. So yeah, I don't have these calls to teach you how to make a couple $100. Like you can just go do that, right? So what I want you guys focused on is more of a long-term plan. And I think like what we did with Beachbody was I really had all of our girls focused on their big goals. Like I want to make $100,000 a year. Great. Like, and what one thing I did, it's a little harder with Shackley than it was with Beachbody because I could figure out the legs and the volume, and we would just look at Team Cycle Bonus, right? So Team Cycle Bonus here is your generations, and I'll get into that too. But like that's where every 15th of the month, give or take a couple days, you're getting that big check that's going to get bigger and bigger. And like we're all starting out right now, so it's small, it's going to climb. And that's where the big money is coming in. And that's what your team's doing. So that's the stuff I focus on. I don't really care about commissions. Like commissions is, unless you want to go be like, build your following and sell a tons of products and stuff like that's never been my focus. And like on our other team, Sammy and Amy did that, but we had probably five people that hit Million Club that didn't do that, right? So that's where I want you guys really focusing is like long-term plan, what's my big number? How am I going to get there? So with Beachbody, what I would do is I would have these conversations with people who like, and you guys will run into this all the time. You'll have people that are interested in the business opportunity, right? So what you need to do it is like to me, I don't care. Everybody can be interested in the business opportunity. What I want them is to be like dedicated to the community and the products because that's what gives you the longevity. Because that interest in the business is going to fade, and we want to replace it with like momentum and like really the community is the biggest fallback point to where if you have girls pushing to build a business and they don't get any traction, you want them to not quit, you want them to fall back into just loving the community, right? So I love Shackley because there was so much overlap with Beachbody of like we can use these products to go into challenge groups to stick to, and obviously we don't have a fitness component, but I would love to see one in the future. Um, and like use these products to kind of just keep doing what we're doing, right? To get people results because the challenge groups, transformations, Beachbody got away from that as like a company, with the whole health esteem and you can eat chocolate and it doesn't matter and all that stuff. Like that's not who they were. And so we always use transformations to be like our marketing material to like really get people in. Okay. And I don't want to jump around in my notes, but I tend to do that. So I'll try to keep it simple. But basically, what I would do with these girls is say, okay, you want to make $100,000 a year? Great. Let's reverse engineer that. And then I would say something like, okay, you need 200 people in your organization buying Shakeology. And they would look at their team of two people, they'd be, Emerald coaches, and they'd have five clients, and they'd say 200, like that's ridiculous, right? And then I would say, okay, how many people can you add a month? And they said, well, if you hit Success Club, you're adding three, right? So that gives us an opportunity over the next year of adding 36 people. That's if nobody quits. So then we would look at, okay, 36 people a year, how many years gets us to 200? That's your mark for having a $100,000 business. Okay. So that's what I would like talk to them at face value. And then we would start diving into that as like, okay, well, if you're doing this right and your challenge groups are like the way I see it is like last month's group is the marketing for next month's group. So how the people that like make good money are the ones who go all in on those groups, and that's where Jamie has made her money. It's like not SC50. It was like for the first 4 years, I think we got to the point with Beachbody where she was making like four or $500,000 and she was just hitting Success Club 5. Okay. So I know this is a different company, different system and everything, but that mentality is what I want you guys to really focus on is like every single client is an opportunity for you to knock it out of the park. And so whether it's their fault that they don't get results or whether it's your fault that they don't get results, either way, it's a lost opportunity. So really go all in because when we're all starting the same spot, new company, not all of our team came over, whatever it is, like just treat it like you're pushing for diamond again, and every single person is a really, really big deal. Okay. Because like your audience is smart, and that's what you got to really think about is like if you need to really have the mentality that you're posting your activities are not of like indicative of the team you have, but of like the team you want to have, right? So people would say like fake it till you make it. I don't think that's really exactly the right verbiage for it. But like if you run a badass challenge group with 3 people in it, you're going to add people. And if you look at your challenge group and you minimize it in your head because there's only 3 people there, it's going to stay small, right? So like the more organized you can get, the better you can get with like making a good graphic or whatever. All that little stuff really, really matters. Okay. It's going to matter to the people that are there. And like every single person that you help is a walking marketing tool for your business. So that's kind of the foundation of like what we focus on to then like we're not talking about directors, we're not talking about rank advancements, nothing like that yet. We're just like this all comes from that community, right? Um, but within that, when I talk about, okay, adding 200 people, what you have to realize, and this is why we're in network marketing, okay, is all of our businesses follow an exponential curve, all of them. Okay. So what you guys have to like, you have to put yourself in your customer's shoes. Okay. So if Cassie signs up today, and I've known Cassie for 20 years, and if she signs up today and all of a sudden she's posting about health and fitness, and I'm just like, Cassie, what the hell are you doing? You're not a health and fitness person, whatever. I see her start posting about that. Well, I'm going to kind of subconsciously or consciously over the next couple months just kind of think and see if she sticks with it. Right. So that's where when you're posting and nobody's commenting on it, that post still matters. And what you can't do, and the difference between the people that make a lot of money and the people that don't, is they get in their heads and they say, why am I doing this? Nobody's on my stuff. What they don't realize is you're building credibility with every single touch point. And um and anybody that does engage on your stuff is a huge, huge deal because I go through Facebook and I'm like, I love what you're doing. I support you, and I'm still not going to like or comment. You know what I mean? Like that's just how people are. People like really treasure their engagement with other people, right? So really focus on that and when you're building your brand because what's going to happen is like right now you want to sell to somebody. They don't want to be sold to. But after like 1 month from now or 3 months from now, they're going to have their time where they're like, shit, I put on 15 pounds. Then they're going to remember your offering. Then when their time comes, not yours, then they're going to reach out to you. So that's what you're building in all of this. And that takes years, right? So some people, like with that example I gave, it's like if I'm interested in Cassie being my coach and helping me, I probably will still wait a year to make sure she's committed to it. And that's what we've seen with Jamie is like she started, everybody made fun of us, whatever. A year later, those same people were like, all right, what are you doing? So that momentum is the exponential curve. Okay. And the people that put their toe into this and they try it out, they never get to the money because they trying it out is not running a business. Right. So that whole exponential curve is literally like you can get absolutely nothing, even though you're going like just hovering above zero. And all of a sudden in month 9, you run a badass challenge group. 8 people got awesome results. You post about them, you highlight these people, whatever you do. And all of a sudden, boom, you start hitting that curve where people are associating. They're like, okay, Cassie helps people, right? So that's what you're building this whole time. And I know you guys came from Beachbody, so you've already been building this whole thing, but you got to keep in mind, listening to what I'm saying is going to help your business on like tier 1, but being able to absorb what I'm saying and teach it to the girls that are crushing your challenge groups is where we're scaling, right? Like that's where you really got to sink this in, like go all in with it so that you can go through kind of the bumps in the road too, so that when somebody else comes in, they crush your challenge groups. They're like, hey, I love this. I love the products. I'd love to make a little bit of money with this. I want, like, what do I do? And you're like, well, let's help you get to director. You need to have done that. You need to remember what it was like. You need to have these kinds of conversations of like, hey, your first post, your friends and your family are going to be all over it. You'll get some support. That shit's going to go away, right? Like that's going to go away. You're going to get a little bit of a hump of, people supporting you. And then that's where the grind starts. That's where you have to show up every month, every day. You have to really help people. And like what I kind of loosely, and I'm going to try not to just preach at you guys the whole time, but like, I think this is the kind of stuff that is the most important. But what I try to say is like, take the warm market support you get and use those people as like an opportunity to really, really help them. Like if you can have an aunt and help her lose 20 pounds with Shackley stuff and with your groups, she's going to go out to dinner. Her friends are going to say, what'd you do? She's going to say, I don't want anything to do with it. Talk to Amber. You know what I mean? So that's how we're starting this whole mechanism. But if you guys have big goals, you have to turn to your cold market. I think the line in the sand of people that make it versus people that don't is the ones who just don't get out of their comfort zone with talking and approaching people on social media that they have no idea who they are. Because if you have, and again, you guys have been doing this, but think about your new coaches and how they're going to have, I'm always going to say coaches, by the way, your new coaches and how they are going to have success. You need to teach them this too, of like, all right, you have 300 friends and family friends on Facebook. That is going to make you hit your goals for 2 months. So if you want to do this and you want to tap into the big goals and making 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year, or more than that, or whatever, we need to expand beyond that. Right. And so I think one of the best things you can do, kind of going back to having the business, like you need to set your business up for where you're going. Right. So I think the best thing you can do is like really emulate your upline or anybody that you have a lot of respect for. Right. So Melanie, great example. Go look at her Instagram. She's got 100,000 followers. Everything's pretty, everything's branded, and you're going to immediately be like, well, shit, I'm pretty far away from that. Right. But you need to like take notes and be like, okay, what does her profile look like? Right? How did she do this? How did she do that little thing? And maybe let's like, she's your upline. Maybe I'll just ask her, on the next call or something like that. Like start really investigating it and getting yourself to that level, because when we talk about cold market, you're going to have one opportunity to land people. And that's when they go to your page and kind of like at a snapshot judge who you are. Right. And it's not necessarily obviously like I think everything matters. Like if you have 300 followers and you follow 5,000 people, to me, that always seems a little weird. Right. So like I would kind of balance those things a little bit more. But what I've always told people, and again, I'm a social media observer. I don't do this stuff, but I watch Jamie. I talk to her about what she does. And like, Amy and Sammy and all those people that I've worked with over the years. But it's like every single person is a big deal. So if you're like trying to get in front of cold market and you have some random person just like your stuff, that's kind of a big deal. I would probably find out who they are. I would probably take the time to message them, start a conversation, look at their profile. Like, don't just spam it and say, hey, girl, I saw you like my stuff. Are you interested in joining? Take the long approach. Like what Amy used to do is take her freaking planner, okay? Because she was like I want to say a kindergarten teacher, super organized, like loved the look of her penmanship. So everything she did was just like pen and paper. And I looked at her planner one time and I bet she had 1,000 Instagram handles written down of just people that were like coming. And this is before she had like 80,000 followers or whatever she built towards. She was tracking everything. So, and you got to keep in mind, you reach out to somebody, it's not their time. Maybe 3 months from now is their time. So how are you going to follow up with them? Like, and I think that's where a lot of people, and that's just a general sales thing, but like a lot of people don't follow up, or maybe they do with a little bit. But if you took the time right now to open a planner and you're going to say, hey, I want to add 10 people this month, I would probably try to get 100 people on your list of like potentials. And if you're like, well, I got to 20, not 100, go do some work. Like go make a post, make a reel, see if you can bring one new person in. Like that's that grind right now that you're starting just to get more eyes on you, right? So that kind of stuff I think is really pays big dividends in the end. Um, and it's like I think for one, like the belief is a huge part of this, right? And that's where I help a lot of people. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't do these calls for the last 2.5 years because the decisions that the people in Beachbody were making, like literally lost my vision for the company. After they went public and we saw their earnings reports and we saw the company doing this, like Jamie was top 10 last year, everything was great. And we still were just like, what the hell are they doing? You know what I mean? So I'm doing these calls now because we're a private company, because Roger's not selling this thing. And I know that we're going to be doing this for the next 30 years. And if you guys kind of take that approach to it, you will too. Right. So, but the vision and the belief is everything because, like I was saying, with that whole exponential curve, that belief of like, not just going month to month of like, oh, I had a great month, now I had a bad month, and now I'm down on myself. Like you need to like really have a 6 month plan, a 12-month plan, a 2 year plan. Where do you want to be? What rank do you want to be? You know, what level elite do you want to be next year? The elite stuff, if you guys want to dive into that, it's so much easier than Beachbody. Seriously, it's so much easier. So I think all of those things are like little goals, 1 month goals, 6 month goals. Those are the kinds of things that you have to really set because that's gonna like really cement your belief. And you're gonna have times where you're behind schedule, and then you're gonna have a surge where you're way above it. Basically, what we've done over the years is because like so Jamie hit superstar, maybe like 2019 or something like that. And when when we would watch the people that were top 10, like Melanie's a good example, they give Melanie's accolades and they're like, and in 2016, she rank advanced 82 new diamonds. And we're like, what? 82 new diamonds? We never did that. Never. So the way that we did it is we would do it in phases. So with diamonds, we would have, Jamie, again, the first thing I said is the most important about your groups and who's killing your groups and identifying the people that are really growing, they're building their routines, they're losing weight, whatever, they're hitting their goals. Those people are your prime people to where it's like, hey, have you ever thought about doing what I'm doing? That's like as simple as Jamie would start and like kind of put that nugget into their brain. The biggest thing is when you got a couple of them together. Like we almost never helped people hit diamond by themselves. We would do it in groups of 2 or 3. And then we would wait 4 to 6 months, and then there would be 3 more. And then we would wait 4 to 6 months. And like there was always these batches because when you think about like somebody going after this business, it's easier if they have accountability partners. Like that's, I think, the sweet spot of where you guys are going to start making a lot of money is when you're doing these business activities. And when you have one person underneath you doing the business activities, it's still kind of hard. Like you kind of feel like you're pulling them along and whatnot. But when you have 2 or 3 and they're coordinating and then you're diving in and helping them, that's when things start moving really fast. And so what that does is like, okay, you have 2 people hit director at the same time. Now you rank advanced, right? And now everybody that you're posting towards sees that. And so you have this whole wheel of like, they see you rank advance. Now, next month, you post about your challenge groups and how people are getting success. Boom, positive momentum. Now you have people getting success in your challenge groups. Now you have more people that are going for director, and you start building this thing that starts moving up. Because in this business, there is no like flat line. You're either trending down or you're trending up, right? And so when you're at the very beginning, you don't really see that you're building the momentum right away, but you are. And so that's where that belief and everything kind of all ties into it. So that's like my little speech of I think is the most important. Like anybody can do this business. Like there, I've seen people that I thought were the had the most potential in the world fall flat on their face. And we've had girls that come in with 50,000 followers and they struggled to get past Emerald. And we've had girls who come in where I'm just like, whoa, she's kind of a little off. And all of a sudden they're just crushing their business. Right. So it's like you can't really judge people that way. It is straight up if they start getting into this whole system. Okay. And what the last point I'll really make on that is, or a couple of things, I guess, is you have to really be your own biggest critic, right? The people that are coachable are the people that are successful. But if you can coach yourself and you can look and you can be like, you know what, that was a stupid post I made. I'm going to delete it and make a better one or something like that. Or if you're looking at your profile and you're like, it is what it is. I don't want to put the effort into it. Like that's going to hold you back. Right. So if you are, I think the biggest thing is if you're nervous to talk to cold market people, you need to go talk to 1,000 people. Like you need to just manhandle it until you get over that hump because everybody has something they're good at in this business and something they're bad at. And the people that really bust through is like take a weakness and turn it into a strength. Because like reach outs and follow ups is probably number one. If you're bad at it, if you hate it, do a lot of it because you're going to get on into autopilot on this thing to where and what I like to do is like when you have a rock solid routine, this business is easy because you can wake up, have your cup of coffee. Jamie used to do this all the time, 5 o'clock in the morning. None of us are up. And she would have some coffee and she would just make her like post schedule for the day. She's like, well, first post, what am I going to post about? This right here. I slept good. I am, having my collagen or my matcha or whatever the hell she does. And I'm gonna make a post about this. And then you go work out, boom, I'm gonna make a post about that. And then I'm gonna post about my recover. And so the biggest thing is when you look at this stuff is I can tell you in 2 seconds if you're doing it right or wrong. Like I can go to your Instagram stories and if there's two of them there, uh-oh. And if there's, you know, decimal points on the top because you have a lot, now you're onto something. Okay. And so the people that get hung up on what do I do for content are overthinking it for sure. Because ultimately, what you want to do is you want to have call to actions and you want to talk about the business. And if you have three stories and you try to sneak a call to action and talk about the business in there, now people feel like they're getting sold to. But if you have your routine and if you can prove to people that you're kind of a disciplined person and you're using your routine to like, you know, to help others and I check into my groups before they're even awake. I'm the first one that works out. I open the Zoom, I talk about my products. Then I do what I do. I post about life, I post about my kids. You post about the stuff that like people that don't support you still need a reason to have eyes on you. And if you're only posting about Shackley, you're not giving them anything to work with. Now, if you're posting about like dumb shit, your kid did or your husband did or whatever it is, like if you're posting about the stuff that people like will come in just the nonsense of why people go into social media, now you can tuck in an invite and they're not going to feel sold to because it's one of 12 stories. Right. And so I think that's where like your whole life and don't overthink it. Like don't try to make a reel that goes viral every single day. I see so many people get hung up on that kind of shit. But like what you want to ultimately do is, and again, thinking from a 30,000 foot view, I tell you to go talk to 100 people and it works and they come to your stories and you've got two and it's join my team, they're going to immediately be out of there. But if they can rip through your stories and learn about you and be like, oh, that's same as me, and they can start like learning and relating and okay, I see what she's doing a business here, but she's also kind of interesting. I'm going to give her a follow, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that is building, right? So let me look here. Yeah, so the whole thing, like I looked at this with fitness too. It's like if you want to be really strong, you kind of got to get to the big weights, right? So if like a strong person as a guy can lift 100-pound dumbbells, if I want to be strong, I got to get my way up there. Same things with your business. Is that if you want to make $1 million, your profile is going to have to look like Melanie's or Jamie's or whatever. Like that's what you're building for, and that's where that long term is like, okay. Like Jamie's, I think, the most obtainable example. She's got 30,000 followers that she's built over 11 years. That's nothing crazy, right? You get a couple thousand followers a year, you're on track to that. But like really emulate them. Like whenever you're on Mel's call, like I'm just an observer. So I'll look at it and be like, oh, okay, man, she took some time. Like, look at me. How beautiful is this gray wall? I took no time to do anything about this, right? So it's like those little things of like what your business looks like, what does your challenge group look like? How do you talk to be like all those little things you need to really look for opportunities to call yourself on where it can be better and elevate it and your business will follow suit, right? Because that's if you see anybody in Beachbody who is like elite or whatever, like you go to their Instagrams, they kind of all are an elevated look compared to somebody who's not, right? So let's dive into like questions and stuff because I have so many notes from Kim about anything that you guys want to learn about.
There was a let me see if there was something in the chat. So Amber asked, when you say post, do you mean actual Facebook or Instagram wall posts or stories?
Dude, I would do everything.
Both.
Everything. Yeah. Like, and what I see is a lot of people, like, if you make a post, you put it into your story, right? Like, I see a lot of people doing that, like, new post. Like, my buddy Jake is a luxury realtor down in Naples. And so it's not like he posts all day long because he's a realtor. He's not a content maker per se or whatever, or an online business person. But it's like he'll make a post, beautiful pictures, nice caption. He'll put it into his stories. He'll move on,
Mhm.
right? So
Okay.
I think if you like really embrace like that's what social media companies typically want is you to use all their features and then they're going to boost you up, right? It's like when stories first came out, I saw people get 10,000 followers in like 2 months because they were the first people on stories.
Mhm.
So like any like it like for me, I think, okay, Steve, teach me about Instagram. I can't. But if I had a you know, if I had to, I could Google it and look at the new features and try them out and find in 2 seconds what people are doing or go to somebody like you guys know this chick named Mari Smith, maybe not. So she's like a Facebook insider. And for years, we would just follow her and see what the new Facebook feature was. And hey, they're going to be giving affinity to people that are using this. And then we decide if we want to do it or not. But like, there's a million people out there now that are talking about stuff like that. So I think it's easy to sit here and be overwhelmed and say, I don't even know where to start. It's also really easy just to Google it and go down a rabbit hole really quick.
Mhm.
And I think like with Sammy, Sammy's got girls that like Courtney's a good example. Like Courtney's only, I think she's only been around for like 5 years, maybe with Beachbody. And Homegirl's got like 50 or 60,000 followers because she was just one of those people who she's not working 10 hours a day, but she would take 30 minutes to like go down a rabbit hole and to see some people that have tips and try it out. I think that's really the mentality of like when you're a business owner, the reason we can make so much money in this business is because or nothing, right? Is because you're your own accountability partner. And like you can and we see a lot of people when people's businesses fall apart, they take time to put something out there to pretend like they're working. Like for instance, if I take a selfie right now, boom, just finished my workout. Did I? I didn't prove it to you. I'm not sweaty. I don't have workout clothes on. I'm not in a gym. So when I see people start posting like that, I'm like, uh-oh, now you're posting for me, your coach, instead of your audience, right? So it's like when you can post stuff that's undeniable of like, oh, I just ate a healthy meal. Great. You didn't show me a picture of it, right? Like when people start posting abstract, I can see that they're getting really lazy. Whereas if you've got 15 posts a day, like for instance, if your routine's awesome, content is easy. And if you're faking your routine, content is very hard.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I that's a long
So, sorry, going back to like the posts and stuff, because this is the area I struggle with. I don't know why. Like before joining Beachbody.
that's all I did was post on my Facebook wall, right? Like I didn't even know how to do stories. I wasn't a part of Instagram, right? Like none of that. Well, then when it was like, okay, you need to do stories, right? That people are just scrolling through, I'm just stuck on that. And that's all I do. I don't know why it's so hard for me to like take the extra few minutes to actually make a post
Yeah.
versus just a quick snippet video on a story, right? So when you're saying like put it on both, like day-to-day things I do, my routine, things with my kids, right? Because I don't want to just post business stuff, right?
Yep.
Want to throw in just normal things, even some of the dumb shit that people can relate to you, right? You're not saying like post that on your Facebook wall, right? Or like, are you saying like, yeah, just drop that on there too?
So I wouldn't necessarily just post dumb shit. I would make sure it's relevant, but like that's where I think if you're thinking about this at noon, you've already lost 5 hours of the day. And now in your head, you're like, well, now what can I post when I didn't do anything? Like, so that's where I think, and again, I'm not going to tell you one way or the other just because I'm not the expert on it. But I think the easy way to do it is to get up and have a cup of coffee and make that post every morning. Like Jamie, every single morning will do her Aura ring. And if she slept good, she'll be up early and she'll post like a picture of her with whether it's a devotional or a podcast or whatever the hell it is. She'll start with that Christmas tree in the back and just be like, start my day the only way I know how. Super simple, right? But if she takes an extra 10 minutes and gets out a piece of paper and says, all right, I want to do, what's up, Angela? And she's like, I want to do 10 things and sit down. And she's like, okay, what are you going to do today? I'm going to get my nails done. I can make something stupid about that. I'm going to get a workout in. So the workout post plus me, that's like a product post too. Easy right there. So boom. And I'm not saying post, let's say stories, right? So because like I think stories are where people like to kind of hang out, you know? So like I would rather have 10 stories than one like novel. You know what I do with novel posts? Flip right past them. I don't care, right? So like if you're doing that all day long, oh my gosh, that's stressful and that's a lot of your time. How can I say something impactful? Don't, right? Like maybe once in a while, maybe if you've got a message or like for instance, it's like if you've got a product that like everybody's loving, great, go talk about that or something like that. But don't just try to make everything into a big deal. I would say just have continuity through your stories. Just like I could pull up anybody's right now. Let's see who I can find. So, Josh is a horrible example. You know what? I probably already looked at all Jamie's, but I think just having some sort of template plan of like, okay, I'm going to do a story for every little thing that I'm doing throughout the day. Because one thing I see, like the difference in Jamie to a lot of people is like she can have 10 times more content than you and do it in 20 minutes throughout the day total. Whereas you have a fraction of the content and you're hung up on it for an hour. Right. So that's the skill that we're building here of just like, okay, you know, we have fresh snow in Michigan. Great. Love my backyard. Whatever. Love my dog. Dumb little shit. Like, because that's where people will learn about you. They'll connect with you. And that's a post that doesn't like offend people that don't want to be sold to. And then you can start throwing the pretty stuff in. Like, so she'll do some kind of behind the scenes stuff, and then she'll have her pretty templated, this is our sales for what we're doing. And then she'll have like, oh, I'm at the coffee shop like this right here. Boom. This is a business activity, right? Mastermind planning for 2025. Got a lot of exciting things coming. You should take a picture of this and some super simple like that and move on, right? Because when you post that you're doing a business activity, that is inviting somebody to the business without inviting them, right? It's a very non-salesy way of saying, we're running a business here. It is, yes, it's almost Christmas. I got a lot of shit to do for Christmas, but my focus is on January 5, that first Monday of January or whatever. And if you want to go run wild for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be here January 5th with a reset, with my team to do that. So go have fun, drink whatever you want to drink, eat whatever the hell you want to do. We're going to go fix it on January 5th. Right? Like that's the kind of stuff that I think you can just easily drop in there. Yeah, and Cassie, how to do all that stuff. Um, but that's the kind of stuff where like if I see somebody posting like just about Shackley, I love it. I support you. I still don't want to see it. Right. So I'm going to stop looking at your shit and I'm a Shackley guy. So you got to think for somebody who's not, they're there for other reasons. You got to make sure those other touch points are in there of like, I don't know. I think a lot of people too, it's like you don't have to have everything together, but you also don't want to go the other side. And like I've seen people just being like, if your kitchen looks like this, you're my kind of person, and it just looks nasty. It's like, well, that's not really good marketing because it shows me you're not disciplined, right? So so I would be careful of stuff like that. Like relatable has kind of a fine line to it too. Just like, oh, take a picture of your room, be like, I love when I freshen this baby up. Like, oh my gosh, this is needed all week. Don't show the nasty room before you clean it. You know what I mean? So like you want what you want is to be relatable, but to kind of be one step above where people are like, all right, this girl's got what I need, right? Like I don't have the energy levels to clean my kitchen. She always has a clean kitchen. Maybe it's because she works out in the morning. How do you work out? Maybe it's because the pre-workout. Nobody wants to work out. I use pre-workout to get me out of bed. And then you're starting to teach people like, okay, maybe it is as simple as I can buy this pre-workout. That's going to force me to work out with these girls. And I'm going to clean up my nutrition. I'm going to have higher energy levels, and the kitchen's going to take care of itself. Like that's how people kind of think, right? So if you're like, hey, join me, and they flip through your stuff, and you're like, wow, that is not a very disciplined person at all, they're not going to join you. They're going to go join Melanie because they're like, that girl's got her shit figured out, right? So like it's again, I don't like saying fake it till you make it. It's really like elevate your life to attract people, right?
And I think like all of that, like being so well-rounded in stories is so good. Jamie always talks about like in her level one chat, she's like, I'm not even good at social media. She's like, I'm like, I created my posts like on my reels and on my feed. She's like, I take no time because if I sit there and I take time, then I go down a rabbit hole and then it just becomes too complicated. And I literally just film myself walking. I get outside, I get the sunshine, I film myself walking, and then I just throw whatever I want over it, whatever message I'm trying to deliver that day. And then she's like, she always says, like, your three point brand is how she kind of explained it. Like, you share about the business, and then two things that make you you. So, like, mine is like, I'm always sharing about like recovery or, being a mom or a mom in a blended family or being postpartum. And those and the business. Like those are my three. So like I share stuff on my stories that I would never put on my wall.
Right.
Like I might share like I'm cleaning up my bedroom and thank God all my laundry is done and da da da. But I would never go make a post about that. People would be
Totally.
like, she's so fucking weird. Like
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
fucking
Totally.
weird. Okay. I want you to just lightly graze over the car thing because I know he had a question about that. And then I know that I have not done a good job of teaching like what the generation
Okay.
thing is because I don't fully understand it. So I'm
Yeah.
not teaching it well.
So the car thing, and like Beachbody never had one. I've always been very skeptical of them because essentially what it is you get to a certain rank and they say like, okay, you now get a $250 a month car bonus, and you have to go out and personally lease a car and show them that you did it, and then they'll give you money. So if you drop rank, that money stops coming in. You got a lease that you got to deal with, right? So my focus is let's just make more money, and you can do whatever the hell you want with your car, right? So that's kind of always been my feeling on it is like let's get you to 5 grand a month, and you can do the car, right?
Or just like make your like we all have a car. So like just give us a chunk of money and call it a car bonus, then we can pay off our car. That would be great.
Yeah, totally. So, and I think so. I talked to Kim about that, and literally they were going to axe that. And then all the Rodan and Fields people came in like 8 months ago and they were excited about it. So like, oh, I guess we'll hold off. They still might axe that whole thing because like what they want to do, and Kim Carver's a genius. Like he has been in network marketing his entire life. He's been with multiple companies. He was one of the most like amongst like the really successful people in Beachbody, he was the guy who taught them. So being back with him is like, you do calls with Kim, you do trainings with Kim, you listen to what he says, you do what he says, you're going to make more money. Right. Um, so yeah, not to get too crazy in that, but I would kind of just like ignore it. Let's just focus on money. Let's focus on directors. Let's focus on building volume and you can go buy a car. Right. Um, and then the generations. So basically, so what we have first is level ones and level twos. Okay. And I might miss some of these, I can probably just find them then. I have notes somewhere from when I interviewed these guys. Maybe not in this book. So in your first level one, you make 16% off of the earning volume. That's not dollar for dollar. Okay. So every product has associated volume. Some products is less, some products is more. Generally speaking, volume is about 70% of dollars spent. So if somebody spends $100, you $70 of it is in volume. And then if they're a level one, you get 16% off that. And that's whatever they buy, whatever they sell. Okay. So in this company, like with Beachbody, it was a binary. So if I signed up two people and they signed up, one person, one person, one person, all of a sudden you have someone all the way down who's like a top 10 coach, all that volume ran up to you. And so that's where you had people that made a lot of money and didn't really do anything. And I wouldn't say made a lot of money because they still needed to be balanced. They still needed to qualify it with their rank. But you'd see diamonds that made $2,000 a week. Right. And like wasn't a common thing, but it happened. And so with this, that was one of the things that was great, right? Because you got volume all the way down. But when we ran through the comp plan, when Melanie and I did it with Kim.
You want me to pull up you want me to share my screen and pull up the.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So when we ran through it, this idea of generations, I literally just thought, okay, what does my downline look like? And how does this compensation plan tie into it? So, yeah, that's a
Can you see that?
big chart. So I don't have that chart memorized, but I do have the main points. So your generation 1 through 6 and your level ones and twos can overlap. Okay. So if you have a level one who's a director, that is your Gen 1. And if you have a level one who's an ambassador, who underneath them has an ambassador, who underneath them has a director, that's your Gen 1 is where that director leg starts.
So it's the distance from you to the director, the next director.
The distance doesn't matter.
Not distance, but like the
genealogy of it. So think of it this way. If you're basically what you want is directors right underneath you.
Okay,
you're making that means that you have somebody who's working and you're going to make 16% off them. And a level twos, 12%, right? So the nice thing about it is if you don't have that, and or let's say you've got somebody who's a director, great, you got 16%, and then you've got an ambassador, and then underneath those ambassadors, now you have a director down here. The beauty of it is like you want to get paid off that person, even though you didn't recruit them, like two people underneath you did, but that's where they shift the generations to start there. The beauty of that is this ambassador who does nothing, who's directly under you, yes, you'll get 16% of zero, right? but they'll drop your generations down so you're not missing builders, right? So what it's meant to do, the generations are meant to grab the builders and pay you accordingly off them. So if your builders are all level ones, you make the most money. In spots where your builders are not level ones, they still make money. You still get money off of them. They drop it down. So it's kind of a way of having a binary in a sense, because like, so how Jamie and I don't want to get too crazy on this, but it's like,
So can I ask a clarifying question
yeah, yeah,
just so I can like visualize it in my head? Okay, so like let's take Heather. She is a director on my level one.
yep,
So is she generation one?
yes,
And then Courtney underneath her is a director and she's generation two.
yes, yes. So whenever you have a director, it starts the generation. So your level
Okay.
ones being your directors is how you make the most money. But if you've got a director way down deep in the downline, it's a way to still get paid off of them.
I get it. Okay.
The level ones and twos aren't really where the nuance is. It's when you have somebody who's not a level one or level two,
Gotcha.
right? So that's the cool thing is like, okay, if I have somebody who is 10 levels down and there is a bunch of discount people above ambassadors above them, that generation one is going to start 10 levels down. Okay, so you're going to get 6% off that person. So that's the beauty of it, is because what you're doing right now with building your team is you're building wide,
Mhm.
right? And then what they do builds down. So the way that we make a lot of money is getting paid off of both the wide, but also the down. Because think of it this way. It's the same example. I don't know if I really brought this point home, but when I was talking about adding 200 people to your team, if it's just you, like think about that. Okay, I hit Success Club, and so that is, what is it? 36 people a year I'm adding. Okay. How many years does it take to get to 200? 5 or 6, right? Well, when you add your team into that, and now you say, okay, I've got 20 ambassadors, 5 directors, a senior director. Okay, what is my team adding? It's like you're adding your 3 people a month, but now your team is adding 15 people a month, right? So now how much faster is it to get to 200? Way faster. And so that is where we come back to this exponential curve, is that's where people get discouraged right here, is they think linearly and they think this is going to take me 6 years to get to
Like
this
I have to do this all by myself. It's going to
by
take forever.
myself. I'm going to have attrition. So the
Right.
36 is actually 20. So it's going
Right.
to take me 10 years to get to 200. That's where people are like, I've thrown up my hands. I don't even want to start. Okay.
Right.
But we don't think about, okay, I'm going to add 5 people. And out of those 5 people, I'm going to get a bonus person in there. Okay. Because one of them is going to add somebody else. And then I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to add another 5 people. Month two, I'm going to get 2 bonus people in there. Well, when you go 1 year in and you're still adding 5 people, and now your team is adding 20 people. And so that's where that exponential curve is going, where, and why does that happen? Everything that we talked about, where I said this is the most important part, the community, like that you're literally in one word, your community and you being a badass leader and getting better and elevating your routine and elevating your discipline and like really leading from the front. That's where your 5 people goes from adding one to your 5 people add 30, right? So that's what we would go in. Jamie would hit Success Club 10. And this is just recent Beachbody stuff. And we go in a week and say, your organization added 58 people this week. It's like, we always did 10, but that over time compounded into something big, right? So when we talk about generations, if you're adding 5 and your team is adding 30 2 years down the road, the generations is a way for you to get paid off of that group of people, because we have a unilevel, not a binary. Beachbody, it was like, all right, you're getting paid all the way down no matter what. This idea of generations is a way of kind of harnessing that. So when I looked at our business centers, because think about this. So Jamie had a first business center and then a second underneath it, and then a third underneath that, and then a fourth underneath that, and then a fifth underneath that, and then the sixth was on the other side. So she has 5 generations right there. So if she signs somebody in her fifth business center, that was immediately like a level 6, right? So at Beachbody, we're getting paid all the way down. Now, this is simple because we don't have multiple business centers. So I'm not getting penalized for those 5 business centers, but it's like it's a way of saying, okay, I signed up Amber, she signed up somebody who's doing nothing, but that girl signed up her sister, and that girl is a beast. And she's got 2 directors underneath her. Now your generation switches down to pay you off the people that are working. So
So
when
it
I
doesn't count as a generation until somebody's director.
correct,
Okay.
so your generation one can be level one, but if those people, like for instance, this is how you'd get screwed if they didn't do it that way. Let's say your level one was an ambassador, two is ambassador, all the way down six. They're all ambassadors. And now you have somebody under there who goes master coordinator. You're not getting paid on that person's volume. So the idea of the generations shifts to take out all those people that are doing nothing, and the generation will switch down to that person so that you're making money off of them. So it kind of, in a way, turns into a binary. So when I looked at our business centers and I thought, okay, if we were in Shackley and I've got Sammy over here and Carly over here and Amy over here and all these people, who would we miss out on volume? And the answer was nobody. So basically, the idea of generations pays off that. And so now, one thing that I got really excited about too is so in Beachbody, we have this idea of 200 on one side, 100 on the other, take it away and pay you $16. That was team cycle bonus, right? So now it's like, you're like, oh, 6%. It's like, well, there's not this idea of 3 to 1 anymore, right? So instead of that whole 2 to 1 thing, it's like for every 3 people, you got paid $16. Now it's for every one person, you get paid 6%. So it's the same thing as a cycle because triple that. You have 3 people down there. Now it's 18% essentially, right? Because you're stacking. So it really is apples to apples, very close to what team cycle bonus used to be, right? So that's what got me excited is I'm like, okay, if you take our organization and plop it into Shackley's model, I am making about the same amount of money in volume. Okay. And I'm not missing volume anywhere where like legs aren't balanced. Right. So then the other thing that was awesome about it is, with the commissions on the front end, it's more lucrative with Shackley. So the hardest part of this business is the beginning. If I give you 100 grand a year, you're going to be doing Shackley all day long. Great. How do we get to that point? So the being able to have your new people make more money in commissions cements them on the road to building a business instead of having them try it for 2 months and be gone. Now we have people that are getting traction and they're going further. So if everybody who ever signed up with us stuck and made a business, we would have gotten $5 million a year. A lot of those potential was wasted because people tried it and they left. Right. So we were really having to do a lot of work to help people get traction with the business. This is easier. Yeah. Yeah. So let me check out. Okay.
Pete was asking questions about the rings, and I had asked Jamie the same question, and she just said that the rings get bigger to prepare you for the next rank up, not the one that you just hit. So
Yeah.
like is that correct? So like if you hit senior director, like it's preparing you for coordinator.
Right. That's my understanding. I don't
Yeah.
look at the rings like she does because I don't have the back office like she does. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you like hit a rank and then you log in and you're like, why do I have to have so much more now? And then it's like, cause you're moving on up, but it like never keeps you.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I just wanted to clarify because I was like, I'm only like 200 away from all the numbers for
Right.
for senior director. And then I looked at it, I was like, wait, there isn't an organizational volume thing for senior director. And then I was looking and then I saw that there wasn't really one till senior coordinator. So I was just wondering what that 5,000
Yeah.
organizational volume is for because I'm looking at the chart and even on here, the only thing it really says it's for is for the car bonus that I don't
Right.
care to do. So,
Yeah, so the next one would be coordinator, and then like as soon as you're like about to hit that, it's probably going to jump to 10K because then it's preparing you for a senior coordinator. It's
Right.
Okay.
like, oh, you're close, we're moving past this, like we're not just sitting here, and then they just grow, and you're like, oh,
Which
okay.
I like that though, because
I
like,
do too. I didn't at first, but I do now.
yeah, it's like, so the problem we had with Beachbody is everybody like treated Diamond as a like a finish line.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a finish line for nothing. It's a starting point for people to actually build a big business. So you
Right.
get people that use their family and friends to get to Diamond, and then they were exhausted and they made it happen, and then immediately they would start falling back. So these rings and getting you prepped for that next one is immediately like, all right, you want to make good money in this business, follow the ladder. You just got on the first level of the ladder. Now we're showing you what it looks like to go to the second, instead of you sitting on the first rung of the ladder for the next year and trying to hold on to it. Don't, like I said, your momentum is going up or it's going down. So that kind of just shows you, how to throw on that on there. But and then do you have other questions in here?
No, I think that makes a lot more sense about the generations. And I was kind of picking Jamie's brain too about like the infinity stuff, and she kind of just said like it's a little confusing, but all she really said is Steve said it's an absolute game changer and we need to get to that point. So,
Yeah. So basically, like when you're at key coordinator, the infinity comes in different levels. And
hmm
so one of the things that I found is like infinity bonus is all the way down on everything. Great. But if you have a leader who is also getting the infinity bonus, you get the difference in the two. Okay.
Mm.
So it's kind of a give and take. And I asked about this. I'm like, well, that sucks. I want infinity on everybody. And they're like, no, you can't because it bankrupts the whole system. Because if you get infinity on if Melanie gets infinity on Jamie and Jamie's getting infinity, and then Sammy's, key coordinator, she gets infinity, awesome. Like Kim was saying that he was consulting with a company that was paying 108% commissions on a product and bankrupted the whole company. So this is a way to do that. Now, I talked to Matt Mitcher about this yesterday too. The beauty of this is it's a good problem to have, because if you have somebody who's a key coordinator, for one, they're a badass. For two, they're not going to stay key coordinator. They're going to keep building. And so if let's say you get 2.5% and they get two, you get 0.5%. Oh shit, I lost my 2%. But I have somebody who just added 500 people to my organization. I'll take 0.5% of that. Right. So
Right.
that's kind of the beauty of
Big
it
picture.
is like, look, yeah, big picture is like good problem to have. And it's like, I'd rather have 0.5% of 1,000 people than 2.5% of somebody who's a director who's got 10 on their team or whatever.
Right. Oh, I guess I can probably stop sharing my screen now.
So, and then the whole elite thing really is exciting because like, and I'll ask about this whole first time director deal to see if they can change that a little bit for next year, because they have made kind of some concessions. And obviously, they wouldn't want you to hit director in November and then have to do it again or not be qualified for elite, whatever. But the whole bronze and silver, so it's 25 points for bronze. Have you guys gone down that? I mean, Kim's got a training on this stuff.
No,
So I'm sorry, it's 250 points for bronze, 350 for silver. And the difference there is like, so that trip is like,
it's the points towards the trip. Is that what you're talking about?
yes, yeah. But not only that, is they have it structured for summit for parties too. So they're going
Mm.
to have like elite parties. So the first of the year, you're going to want to have your eyes on being bronze, right? Because you got 6 months to do it. You get invited to the parties at the summit and stuff like that. And then the silver is like, so for the bronze also gets you to the Punta Cana trip. And then the silver allows you to invite somebody. So I think that's what it is. It's
Yeah,
silver.
I think that's what it was because I remember Jamie. I'm trying to pull up the screenshot
Yeah.
she
And
sent me.
so they do it in a cool way because like they give you credits towards your flights. I
Yeah.
think, for gold, which I think gold is super obtainable for people that are like trying for it, over the course of a year, hard to do quick. But like Jamie hit gold in 6 weeks. So you can do it in a year, but then it's like apparently they're picking us up at our house, bringing us to the airport, picking us up at the airport, bringing us to the resort on the way back, doing the same thing, and then giving us flight credits. So it's like,
Wow.
oh, Beachbody never did any of that. That's kind of crazy. They didn't even do that for top 10. So, like they really got a lot packed into these things. And the beauty of it is like the way to get points is like there's three categories. Sponsoring people. So you get 10 points for every Star Club. Okay. You get 5 points for every ambassador you sign. So if you just looked at Star Club, okay, I need 25 Star Clubs in the course of the year to get bronze. Okay. That's just one category. And then they have caps on these things for different levels. So once you go from bronze to silver, they raise your cap. Okay. Just doing it very quickly. So the retention is another one. That's a little trickier. It's like, so if you have somebody, let me think. I'm trying to read my thing. Within 90 days, if they buy stuff for 90 days, you get 15 points. They do it after 90 days, it's 10 points. I got to max up on that. So anyways, there's like an auto ship one where you get 2 points for everybody who's gone on auto ship. So if you're building a community, you have that running in the background. And then your team building is like for every director you have, you get like 50 points. So those are the big categories. So if you have Star Club, plus you're adding people, plus you're retaining people in your groups, and you have like your own personal rank. I think when you hit director, you get 30 points. So let me ask him because I would love for them to push all this shit to 2025 just so you guys immediately start with points, right? And if you have a director underneath you, it's like 50 points. So when you think about getting to like silver, very doable. Gold, maybe a little bit more of a push. That's 600 points. But it's like if you rank advance next year to like coordinator, boom, you got over 100 points there. If you have two directors underneath you, boom, you got 100 points there. If you're adding 3 people a month, you've got 200 or 180 points over the course of the year there, right? And if you're hitting Star Club, which you do with adding people, you get 10 points for that. So when you actually look at all these things, you don't have to really rank advance crazy. You just have to do it like once every couple months. And that's like puts you on track for gold, right? So like getting to bronze is very doable. Getting to silver is just a little bit more. And then getting to gold is like that's what I would shoot. I would shoot for gold, and then like if you don't hit it, you're still bronze or silver, right?
Do you
So
think you can get me a link? Because I cannot find where Jamie sent it, but the recorded
yeah,
call
training.
on that, yeah.
Yeah, so Kim just did it. He was supposed to send me the link and he didn't. So I'll text him. I'll
I
send it to you
think
guys.
okay. I know Jamie sent it and she was like, everybody watch this, but I cannot figure out what chat she sent it in. I can't find it.
Yeah. What I love about Elite here is like the points are all in your control. Like if you
Mhm.
can hit Elite and not have any builders underneath you. Whereas with Beachbody, that was absolutely impossible.
Right.
Right. So, and that all again, I guess the whole point of this call is like we talked about 10 different things. Focusing on all of them is going to catapult your business. Like social media, getting people results, shooting for elite, trying to rank advance, getting like basically in a nutshell, you need people to just be like, this girl like drinks the Kool-Aid with Shackley. She is all in on this and live that way for the next year and watch people start to flood in. And it might, for some people, it's, your warm market people, they come in waves, but once you tap into that cold market, like we don't sign up any warm market people anymore. Like out of everybody we've signed up with Beachbody or Shackley, well, not including Shackley. So with everybody with Beachbody over the last 5 years, I would say like 2 to 5% has been warm market. So if we relied on that, you wouldn't even know who Jamie was. We would have never rank advanced ever. So that's really the thing of like, if you focus on one thing, it's that.
So, what would your best advice be for somebody who is walking away from their full-time job?
That was my next question. Steve, I just got laid off from my job.
Okay.
Merry Christmas to me, right? But I have completely struggled with even wanting to look for another job. I just feel very pulled to go all in, and everything is aligning. Like, if you're going to do it, like, this is the time. What is your best advice for that? Like, what would you say? And I know that you said, like, we talked about 10 different things, and, the best way to, like, boom, go is tackle all of them at once. But what would be your best advice that, like, to really hone in on, so it's not like try to tackle everything at once and then it's just it's overwhelming and I'm like, oh my god, like, what am I doing? Like, what?
So I would say
What?
what's going to bring you home is your level of organization more than anything, right? So, and your routine, your organization, your routine. So if you get distracted in your house, don't work at home, right? I would get a nice, shiny new freaking planner for 2025 and I would start prepping in it right now. And I would make your routine tied in with that planner. And the biggest, the hardest thing for people is to carve out work hours when nobody's asking you to. So that's what Jamie does. She'll have her whole routine, but every single day, like I have a desk right here, beautiful little desk. Jamie doesn't touch this freaking desk because it doesn't motivate her to work at home. She
That's
can't do
what she
it.
said.
She needs to go to the coffee shop for 3 hours. She needs to get her stupid little matcha or whatever, and then she locks in because
Yeah. Okay.
it's too easy to blend work and personal when you're at home.
100%.
Yep.
Right. And so you go somewhere like she likes this little bougie little coffee shop in Ada. She spends her $5 on the thing. She's motivated because it's gorgeous in there. Other people are in there. Like you're in Ada. So like the people that are there are like working professionals. So you don't have a bunch of kids hanging around. Like you have a bunch of people AirPods in, like working. And like to her, that gets her in the mindset of like, I'm gonna dress the part. I'm gonna wear something that makes me feel important. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna carve out my 3, 4 hours and I'm gonna, and like she is not a very organized person. Literally, she's not. So if your organization, like I've seen Amy is the best example with her frickin' planner make millions of dollars because as a kindergarten teacher, she was all about it. Like she would, and Melanie, I think, has a planner. So maybe that's, I don't know. But that's where I would start. And I would treat this like a business. And so I started a construction business a couple of years ago. And I will tell you, it is not sexy to start a business. Like nobody's teaching you to do it. I have a partner, luckily, so I had some accountability. You're doing this. I mean, you got Cassie as a partner, and any like the ideal thing for you, you want to make money, your relationship with Cassie, you need to have going down below you. Ideally, take a success partner from her team or another team or whatever, but your end goal is to have your coaches be your success partners, right? Like the way that Jamie went top 10 is she had 7 girls, literally 7, got to the top in the company with these 7 girls, and she was in a Facebook chat with them, and they were motivating each other. They all had rock solid routines because Jamie individually helped them with that. Then she brought them together where they were working together. And then when she was at the coffee shop, she's talking in the group, she's talking with them separately, she's making some stories about being in this beautiful coffee shop. That's pretty damn easy to get content. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing too, is like when you do that shit, people see you taking your business seriously, and then they start taking you seriously. Whereas if you don't do your hair and you look like shit and you're sitting at home and you're trying to take yourself seriously, it's a lot harder. It really is.
My struggle.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like
Yeah.
everybody wants to sign up with a boss.
Yeah.
What does a boss do throughout their day? They get the ugly stuff like the workouts and the not sexy stuff out in the morning. They're health conscious. They've got their social media planned out. They've got their meals planned out. They've got their day organized. They live and die by their planner and by their, like, Melanie's whole thing is like, you want a big business, carve out time slots throughout your day of what you're going to do, you know? And so if your kids are at school and you've got time, go do that, because like if you don't have a job, going to a coffee shop and getting that's $5 or whatever, you know what I mean? Or you don't even have to buy anything there, but like bring your Shackley shit, take a picture of it, and it's free, right? So, but the content you get, and that's why she loves this little spot in Ada, is it's like you feel like you're in Aspen in there. It's like this gorgeous coffee shop, and she can take a picture in that every single day. And somebody who's cold market doesn't know if that's a coffee shop or if she lives in a $10 million house.
Mm.
Right. So, because the content of the pictures she can take in there is bananas and it's free. So I would just really elevate how you approach your business. And I always say too, like when you're starting your business out, yes, do it on Instagram. Yes, do it on Facebook. But you know how you're going to get most people? On your phone, texting. You know what I mean? If you're like, hey, I need to get volume, I need to hit director this month, I'm still behind. I would go towards the low hanging fruit is the people that love you and support you. And you'd be like, hey, you want to try this thing out in January? I'm trying to hit a goal. If you hate it, don't do it, whatever. But like, you can always ask, right? And so there's a lot of the people, like literally, there's so many friends that we had back in the day who would look down on us because of how we approach this business.
Mhm.
And now they're stuck in their shitty jobs, and we have freedom because we just kept motoring on. And so that's really the mindset that you have to have. And it's like really being in tune with yourself and organization and figuring out how you're motivated and tapping into that constantly. Because if you're waiting for Cassie to motivate you, your business isn't going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like use her motivation, analyze what it does to you, figure out how to do it to yourself. Because ultimately, when you're girls, when you've got 5 directors underneath you showing up and crushing it, it's a lot easier to be motivated because you're showing up for them. The vision of having those people, you need to lock into until they're
I love that you said that too about just like encompassing it, not only mindset, but like how you dress the part, how you present yourself to people. Like I do court hearings every day where I'm in a full, suit and heels. And then I come home and like present myself to this business in more of like a homeless chic kind of
Sweatpants,
vibe. So
slippers, right?
yeah, and
Robe.
and it's like,
Uh-huh.
why do I do that? So this is a learning moment for me as
Yeah.
a leader because I can tell you right now something that is ingrained in my brain is when I was on that body leadership cruise and I had decided like, okay, I'm gonna join Jamie and I'm gonna get on this first business call with her. And she showed up and I remember so clearly in a green blazer. And I was like, God, she looks gorgeous. She is a business woman. And my brother's like, yeah, because she's a master of her trade. Like this is her company. And I was like everything you're saying and everything that she displays herself to be like a business woman, you see that. So when you join her, you know, I'm getting a businesswoman. I'm getting somebody who's organized, who takes it seriously. And so this is just like this is a learning moment for me.
there. And like people look at it backwards. They're like, well, when I get to that point, I'll dress like that. It's like, no, no, no. Dressing like that gets you to that point because it changes
Dress
your
for the
mindset.
part you want, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Not the part you
exactly.
have right now.
It
Right.
changes the level of respect you have for yourself. Like, look at me. I am in a sweatsuit right now. Okay. If I go out, I am going to feel like I'm wearing a sweatsuit. Now, if I got all done up, like I don't have to spend money. Like you can go do it in your closet, whatever. But if I go all out, I literally change how I behave. You know, I mean, if I go to a restaurant looking like this versus if I go to a restaurant in a full suit, you get two totally different versions of me, right? Like, it's just because I sit more straight up, I'm more proper. It's just like I just I think everybody kind of falls into that. But it's like when you're showing up for social media, you don't have to do that every single time, but you do like if you're building a brand, that shit matters.
Right.
It really, really does. And just like taking pictures, like if you're wearing something awesome and you take a shitty picture, you wasted it. You know what I mean? So like all that stuff kind of ties in, but you'd be shocked at how much momentum you get where it's like when you do that stuff, even your closest friends who are used to seeing you, behind the scenes, they're going to start respecting you a little bit more and be like, huh, she's really taking this thing seriously.
Right.
And that's a nugget in their brain to where 6 months from now, when their time comes where they need you, they're going to want to go with the girl who takes it seriously. Right. So that's that's the best advice I can give you is, and I think it starts with a planner and getting organized, and starts with like, again, do you wake up early and work out? Because it's a lot easier to jump in the shower and get all done up or whatever you want to do if you do that. If you are working out at 2 o'clock p.m., you have this thing in your head. You're like, well, I'm just going to get nasty later. So why would I take a shower now? And it's like, so that person who wakes up at 5 and who's got a dialed in routine sets themselves up for success to go from, like, Melanie's the best example. Like I hang out at their house all the time. And Mel's up early. She looks how all of us look in the morning. She, goes and works out. It's nothing pretty. She's a hot mess. She has breakfast. She disappears in your room. She gets all done up. And now she's on business calls in that little blazer and she's making money. Right. So it's like the better your routine is, the more it ties into all this stuff. So
I love that. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Love
and
that.
again, too, because like all of us want to sign up somebody who's a badass. How are you going to attract a badass?
Right. If
Yeah.
you're
What about someone like me that, like, my life is being a personal trainer and
Mhm.
being at the gym all the time? So it's unrealistic. Like, my routine is very consistent and solid with my workouts, but it's not always in the morning, but it is consistent. It's been that way for 14 years. And as far as dressing up goes, that is totally something that really helps me. Even just getting in an outfit on a Saturday and taking some pictures or something. But even like showing up. So, because I feel like I don't know if I'm looking at this the wrong way or not, but I feel like it's more authentic when I'm in the gym. Like, I post, I'll be like, I'm up, drinking my shake before going into work. And then I'll be at the gym about to take my Energize before I work out, but I'm clearly in gym clothes.
I think I know what you're saying. And first of all, for you, this is all easy because people already associate you with health and fitness, right? So
Okay.
you're not
That's what I was
changing the
thinking.
brand. You have a brand, right? But I would
Yeah.
just still, like, I think the biggest cheat is a coffee shop. Like, so my sister-in-law, Carly Lindor, you'll never catch her in a blazer ever. She's wearing yoga pants and like a hoodie every time, but she still goes into a coffee shop and gets that computer out and shows the view from her and takes a pretty picture of whatever she's doing. And she shows that she's grinding. So I think honestly, like, it's simpler than you think. It's not necessarily about
Okay.
being all done up. You're proving that you're a professional, and you can do that in a lot of different ways, right? Like if you're like, hey, I hit the gym, I'm a hot mess, now I'm in the coffee shop, and like I am answering my clients questions, and this is the stuff that really fuels me. Like, there's different ways of branding yourself without necessarily having to do it. But
I get what
it's
you're saying.
about the clothes you wear specifically. It's more about like just not looking like shit, I guess.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I'm guilty of at home on the weekend, like in my
Everybody.
robe, like, hey.
Totally. Everybody is.
Okay.
Everybody is.
Thank
But like,
you.
again, like we're taught, like if you're building a brand, I think you really like the most successful people in the world look like shit and work out and they're dialed in and then they clean up and go to work. And
Yep.
if you can't do that because you are going back into the gym and helping people, like that's kind of a good problem to have because people
Yeah,
already
because that is what it is like.
you're showing your dedication to what you do and to your clients anyways, right? But I,
Yeah.
I think again, I think the coffee shop and it's not necessarily about like where people see you. It's about like what environment do you need to be in to like feel like you're crushing it and like feel motivated.
Yeah,
Because
because
when
I
you're
know that, like, I always work out first, because then after that I'm like, everything's done now, I can sit down because I have time at work always and work on
Right.
this business for 2 to 3 hours, and I
Right.
have my own office, so I'm kind of in my own Because at home, it's like, oh, yeah, it's hit or miss. It's like, if I'm not up before my daughter and Steve is up, it's like wildfire trying to work on the weekend. So I always try to get up and do it earlier. But thank you so much. That really helped. This really helped me, actually.
And so there's one little concept I want you guys to really lock into too, because when people like we dealt with feedback from people over the years of just like, well, I'm doing this, I'm working my ass off, and now my husband's mad at me and I can't have dinner with my kids. It's like, you're doing it wrong then. Okay. So the idea of like, first of all, if Cassie has a question, she is a business building coach. And if I don't answer that question for 2 days, I'm an idiot because she's hung up on this. And the best thing I can do is to get her back on track to where questions answered, she's going a million miles an hour again. Right. So it's like, if your grind time is in the morning, don't shut people off to the morning. Because if you have people that have questions and they're night owls, like, I'm not saying you have to stay up all night answering their questions, but the best thing Jamie does is she hops into the business and she hops out. She hops in and she hops out. So like, she'll make dinner, she'll sit there for 2 minutes and fuck around and just answer a couple of people's questions, and then she's out. So that even though it's not her work time, she's got that availability where she's not sitting there for 30 minutes. She doesn't need to, and I have a different mindset. Like I very much like I want to work and I want to not work, where she can jump in and out, in and out, in and out. And that's why she's so good at what she does. And like, yeah, so she'll have her couple hours at the coffee shop and then she won't work the rest of the day, but she's still working. She's still answering questions. She'll still like, out of a 60-minute window, she probably hops in and out of work 10 times. Right. And so, but she only took 6 minutes of the 60 to do it. So she's not hung up. She's not there. And like, that's kind of a mindset where when your business, again, if I gave you 100 grand a year, that'd be really easy to do. But you need to do that so that the 100 grand a year comes. Right. And so that's kind of where it is like you like nurture the shit out of it, because someday you're going to have a team of 100 people and you're going to have 500 people underneath them, and you're not going to have time to talk to everybody. You don't have that problem right now. So give everybody that nurturing time to really build in. Because like, if I'm going to help you get to 50 grand a year or 100 grand or whatever arbitrary number that's a full-time income, it's kind of the same thing as helping somebody lose 50 to 100 pounds. Okay. They ain't going to go do it by themselves. I'm going to have to check in with them. I'm going to have to follow up with them. I'm going to have to keep them accountable. I'm going to have to check in with them on the weekends. I'm going to have to answer their questions at night. I'm going to have to outline stuff for them in the morning. Like, you really are going to have to insert yourself, because that makes their journey easier. Business, fitness, same damn thing. Like, you get people going on the path, and that is heavily like, it's a lot of work for you at the beginning until their routine takes over, and then they're on autopilot. And now you have a business builder who's making you money and making themselves money because you worked your ass off for them in the beginning really hard. So like, I would like focus on it that way. That's why if it's your aunt that signs up, help her lose 20 pounds. Take her results, show it to your Facebook. You don't even have to show her face, or just like use a testimony or whatever, but like grind it out right now. So Amber, that's I think the best way to like focus on your clients like that is like, if I look at all of them like buckets, people coming in are in bucket number one. People, that's getting people in the door. Getting people comfortable in your community is bucket number two. Getting a business builder is bucket number three. Getting a coordinator is bucket number four. If you have no coordinators, go back a bucket. If you have no business builders, go back a bucket. Go back to your community. Because if you have 30 people loving your challenge groups and shit, I promise you can get business building coaches out of there. And if you don't have very many people in your community, go back a bucket. Go talk to 1,000 people on Instagram. So it's like, it comes down to like the 10x rule, really. It's like, you want 10 people to sign up, you got to talk to 100. If you're going to talk to 10, you're going to get one. And now, if it's me versus you, and I'm talking to 100 a day and you're talking to 10 a day, we can both make 100 grand, but I'm going to do it in 1 year and you're going to do it in 8 years. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had one last question. And it's totally a different topic, but I was looking at my back office last night, and I know that you said you don't have your own back office, right? Jamie has that. But for your current month sales, right? When that increases, your percent of commission increases. Do your ambassadors not go towards that current month sales when they purchase?
Are you talking about the 500 new?
No. Just this simple current month sales. It gives
I'll
you
pull
your
it up.
dollar. Can
Okay.
okay,
What
thanks.
she's
Yes.
talking about. It's like on the very top.
Because to me,
I'll share my
current
screen.
sales should be your
That's
current.
why I'm confused. Yeah, like because
The
I had one
only
of
category that's new people is the 500 every month, I thought.
Yeah, she
correct.
means
Yeah, that's a separate.
this part right here where it's
It's a
current
simple,
month sales.
Hey, Jen,
Sales commission.
here a sec. She just got home.
Where it's like, yeah, this sales commission where it's like everything that you purchase as well goes into this amount. So I think ambassadors should go into this amount too.
Yeah, question I don't know the answer to.
You share your screencast?
Oh, am I not sharing my
No,
screen?
you're
What?
not.
Oh,
Hi, Jamie.
Lord have mercy. Hold on. Hi, girl.
What's
Okay.
happening?
There we go. I'm sorry.
Oh, my
This part.
question, Jamie, was for this sales commission here, right? When your percentage goes up, I'm confused on shouldn't your ambassadors underneath you, when they're purchasing, shouldn't that go towards your monthly sales? Because
No,
that's
your sales is coming from all of your members and new clients. So when you're getting like the percentages per month of your level ones and level twos, that's why you want to be director, because you're getting those percentages from them. So like this, that's why like every single month it resets back at 10%.
Mhm.
So like, which I wish it would stay. I wish we could get to a spot and do it. But like basically that's why you want to bring in the new customers and clients. So that's where like I think the system protects itself so that you're not just having your mom, grandma, and your husband ordering from you every month, hitting the requirements that you need or to bump it
So
up.
your ambassadors, that goes into the paycheck you get for volume on the 15th of the
Yes.
month.
Yes. So it's
Okay.
it's customers, members, and then your own purchases because you make a commission on your own purchases as well, and all of that goes into this.
Yep. Because you're getting,
Sales.
you get that money back from your purchases too.
Got it.
But I think, and this is where maybe I'm just thinking because I'm coming this late, but when you sign up an ambassador to start, their first initial purchase maybe goes into this. I guess I can't remember if it does or not.
Yeah, I think it does. That's okay. I just was like, wait, but this is different than like the
Oh, yeah.
$500 from the new.
Right.
Okay.
So the initial will do that plus your star bonus, but then after their initial first, because they're already ambassador, then you're getting the percentage from your level one